Have you ever heard anybody say, we're so politically correct these days? Sounds harmless, right? And maybe we even agree with them a little bit. But here's the thing, that phrase was engineered as a weapon. And in this video, I'm going to break it down. But before I do, please like, subscribe, and share, because we only win this thing if we all stick together and our voices are heard. I'm Stephanie with Political Critical Thinking, and today we're going to talk about political correctness, which, I just call manners. Let's start with what politically correctness is not. It is not meant to silence free speech. But what it was a basic agreement in society that we should treat each other with dignity. We don't mock somebody's gender, race, sexuality, or disability, something that Trump does all the time and his MAGA nuts cheer for. So why the sudden backlash in the 1990s and 2000s? Well, more groups were having doors open to them. The powerful started to feel uneasy and cornered. They couldn't really say the ugly part out loud, so they flipped the script. Politically correctness, or PC, became a slur against progressives. In fact, it just was one of many slurs that started around that time. Oh, you're too sensitive, or they were just joking. Can't you take a joke? It wasn't random. It was psychological warfare. And they were playing for keeps. See, it gave cover for racist, sexist, homophobic rhetoric by dismissing objections that one might say as being oversensitive. It reframed the conversation about decency as being oppression. We just can't say anything anymore. My question is, why do you want to say those things? But then they use the same tactic to attack the progressives. Suddenly, calling out racism became hate speech against white people. God, these guys are so brilliant. Wish they would use their powers for good instead of evil. But here's the thing, as we're all yelling, they're so hypocritical. It's not hypocrisy. It's strategy. So let's go back to how we got here. Remember, in the 1970s, corporations saw students leaving universities more educated, more articulate, more progressive. That scared them. So after the Powell memo and that fire that sparked all of these think tanks, they started to build their own campus movement. That's how you get the Kirks and the Fuentes and the Shapiros and PragerU. They called universities indoctrination camps. They mock people who are smart and articulate, dismissing them as elites. Meanwhile, they're sending all of their conservatives through Harvard and Yale and the top universities, not to strengthen democracy, but to weaponize the Constitution and the law. But really, just to dumb it down, it also is just a big distraction and projection. See, their whole pipeline is indoctrination. They make hate sound palatable. They wrap it in jokes, blast it on YouTube, push it on TikTok, and then they hand the mic to a bunch of cool kids with podcasts and let them tear down the very freedoms that give them the right to speak at all. I mean, those freedoms only exist because people fought like hell so they could have them. When Trump rails against political correctness, what he really means is, I want to be able to say the racist part out loud and get away with it. And sadly, millions cheer because the ground has already been softened. This is how authoritarian movements work. They dismantle the guardrails of decency. Then they normalize exclusionary language. And then finally, they pass laws that enforce it. They pass it against immigrants, against LGBTQ folks, women, Black voters. But here's the part they don't tell us, is that those same laws, they eventually hit white people. Remember, it was white men who stood shoulder to shoulder in the civil rights movement. That solidarity is exactly what today's power brokers want to prevent from ever happening again. So trust me, they will keep white Americans in check with the same things that they do to other marginalized communities through poverty, incarceration, lack of education, addiction, forced pregnancy, the lack of any opportunity for upward mobility. And they will continue in these shadow dockets that are happening right now to strip away all of our freedoms. Because they know when people are pushed down long enough, when they have no more scapegoats, they will rise. And the system is already being set up to make it more difficult when that day comes. Wow, this sounds all pretty bleak. How do we fix it, Stephanie? I don't know. Honestly, I think it starts with us. And look, I'm not some Ivy League scholar. I barely graduated high school. But I believe it all starts with us. We have to revisit the civil rights movement. We have to go back and relearn civics. In all fairness, they've been taking it out of the schools for decades, so we barely know how anything works. Because if we don't fully understand what we didn't have and what we fought for and what we did get and now how it's being taken away, we'll never be able to win this war. And we can't expect African Americans, who make up 13% of the population, to carry it all for the rest of us. It's up to all of us, especially white people. Empathy matters. It is only through empathy that we don't repeat history. Look, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Go back and watch Schoolhouse Rock. Remember that? You won't just remember how a bill becomes a law. You might remember how to conjugate a verb. I know I did. Subscribe to PBS and NPR before they're completely defunded. We need to take our money out of a system that sells hate and put it towards people that are still telling the truth. And listen, my pro-democracy peeps, we gotta stop trying to appeal to the better angels of people who just have had 50 years of their empathy system rewired by listening to nonstop Fox News, endless talk radio, culture wars, and propaganda. This was not an accident. This was a long, deliberate psychological campaign to numb empathy, to inflame anger, and replace curiosity with suspicion. So next time you hear the PC culture is ruining everything, remember, it's not about free speech. It's about free reign to spread hate. In the next video, we're going to bust some of the biggest myths that they rely on, like more white people are killed by police than black people. Or my favorite, black people are racist against white people. I'm going to love dispelling this myth, but spoiler alert, they're not racist. They just think some white people are assholes, and I tend to agree with them. So again, thanks for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share, because silence only helps the people tearing democracy apart. We'll see you in the next one.